It's been a couple years since I heard that intro, and I just got the most major chills that I've gotten in a while.
Yeah,
that was good.
We're back.
That was damn good. Welcome back, everybody, to The Last of Us Season 2 spoiler cast for Episode 1. Of course, I'm your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Good day, Tim.
And Greg Miller.
Good afternoon, Tim.
Now, Greg, you were at the premiere of The Last of Us Season 2.
No big deal.
I know that you got to see an episode. Is this the episode you saw, and was this all that you saw?
This was the episode we saw, and this was all we saw. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Good to know.
rip from your HBO Max.
Did you watch it again last night? Or
I did not. No,
okay,
I'm going off
This
of
is going off
yeah,
your
yeah.
2 weeks ago-ish
Yeah.
memories. Cool. Great. Before we get into all of this real quick, I do want to say we're going to handle this the same way we handled the first season of the show. But the rules are a little bit different now just because of what that means. For season 1, the rules were all spoilers for The Last of Us 1 game and The Last of Us 1 show, but we weren't going to get into Last of Us 2 spoilers at all because we assumed that a lot of people were going to play Last of Us 2 for the first time after watching the show, jumping on, playing through the game. You get all that stuff. For this one, all spoilers are on the table for The Last of Us, period. Obviously, we have played The Last of Us 2. We've been talking about The Last of Us 2 for years at this point, and I imagine the vast majority of people that are coming to Kind of Funny Games to hear us talk about The Last of Us are looking for a perspective that comes from people that have played The Last of Us 2, especially because I imagine that the show is going to deviate from the game in terms of pacing and the segmentation than a lot more than Season 1 did. So that just letting everyone know that's where we're going with all this. So that essentially means all Last of Us media is on the table.
Hell yeah.
At this point.
Let's go.
So just letting everybody know that. Of course, this is the Kind of Funny Last of Us breakdown each and every week. For the next 7 weeks, we will be doing these spoiler casts of each and every episode, and I'm incredibly excited for all of that. You can get it on YouTube or Twitch live when we record them every Monday, or you can get it later on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kind of Funny membership. It gets you the shows ad-free, and you get a daily exclusive Greg Way. Today's is
All about my Chicago trip and then my best and worst meet and greet experiences.
fun stuff. If you wanted to be a part of this episode, please YouTube super chat in. If you have any thoughts on episode 1 of season 2 or where you think the season might be going, please write them in and we will discuss them. A little housekeeping for you. You already got Kind of Funny Games Daily. That was Greg and I talking about marathons, pricing, and that was mainly what we talked about. A lot of its positioning in the world. And then, Bless, you just did a games cast with Paris and Andy and Mike talking about way more about marathon.
Yep, just our reaction to all the marathon content over the weekend. And then also Paris, a couple years ago, got to get hands-on with marathon. So his perspective on it costing a premium price and all that.
Yep, so you can check all of that out. And then after the screencast, the day is not done. We'll be jumping back into Marvel Rivals with a fun partnership with NVIDIA, showing off all that DLSS 4 with multi-frame generation, AI-powered tech that gives you up to 440 frames per second in 4K with a top-end 50 series RTX GPU. So if you want to see what a 50 series card looks like in action, stay tuned as Mike and Andy play some of that Marvel Rivals right after all of this. Thank you to our Patreon producers, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, and Carl Jacobs, and Omega Buster. Today, we're brought to you by Imperial, Factor, and Shady Rays, but we'll tell you all about that later. It's time to get into The Last of Us Season 2 premiere. Season 1 had 9 episodes. Season 2 will have 7. And Season 3 has officially been greenlit as of a couple days ago. This episode is called Future Days. Named after what, Greg?
The Pearl Jam song, of course.
That's true. That's true.
Future
Written
days.
and directed by Craig Mazin and came out April 13th, 2025. Bless, I want to start with you. What did you think about this season opener?
And we're going full spoilers from the
Full
get-go.
spoilers from the get-go for the game, for the show, for anything you want to say about Last of Us.
Hell yeah. Absolutely love this episode. It is great to be back after being away for, a couple years at this point since Last of Us Season 1 came out. I've not rewatched Season 1 since then, so to be thrown back into Season 2, Episode 1, it is a reminder of, Pedro Pascal can act his ass off. Oh, Bella Ramsey is good at this. Oh, man, these guys have a casting and direction that is just very good at interpreting what the video game did, but finding a way to make it fit within the cast they have, the characters they have. There are slight differences that I think make sense because of who the characters are, who they're being played as. Bella Ramsey being a bit more, I don't even know if scrappy is the right word. I don't even know if feral is the right word. But there's something about Bella Ramsey and her, like, from the get-go being like, stop pulling punches, all this shit, right? Like, them starting, obviously they're trying to build.
She's a different Ellie.
She's a different Ellie, and they're trying to build her up of like, no, she can still be scrappy. Like, this is who she is, even though, like, she doesn't look like the same Ellie that we know from the video games. They're painting this picture of, but this is the Ellie that she is, and this is how she's going to end up being the threat to everybody in the room, right, kind of thing. I like the new characters they introduced. I don't know the name of the actress that's playing Dina, but I really liked her chemistry.
Isabella Merced.
Personal friend of
Madam Web fame.
Of course.
Soon to be a
She talked to
Superman
Greg.
fame.
Of course. But yes, I love her chemistry that she had with Bella Ramsey on screen. I think it worked really well. But I think the thing that I liked most were the ways in which they used this episode to set up kind of the tone and the direction of the rest of the season. There's a lot of foreshadowing happening. Tommy's kid doing the pew pew at Joel. I'm like, all right, you're messing around, kid. You're doing too much now. But I like that. I like the explanation of the stalkers. I thought that was very entertaining. And overall, the therapy scene, I think for me was by far my favorite addition to this opening sequence of this season 2, right? I think getting that back and forth of Joel and the therapist, and like the therapist being, not therapist like, obviously, because she has shit to get off her chest, but using that as a way to flip it around on hey, Joel, like, say what's on your mind, like you got something you're hiding, and Joel struggling so much with that, I think just did so much for Pedro Pascal's performance of Joel. And honestly, like, has me kind of concerned is the wrong word, but when he's gone from the season, I'm gonna be so sad. You know what I mean? Like, I expect that to happen probably by next episode, and we're gonna get flashbacks, we're gonna get all that stuff, but once he's out, I'm gonna be like, man, I hope I'm not gonna miss Pedro Pascal a lot, because he's doing such a good job in this first episode. So that's my impression.
Greg.
I mean, echo everything he just said, right? What a fantastic episode of television, period, let alone an adaptation of The Last of Us. I think the things they do, the choices they make here, I think make for I don't want to say stronger product, but as somebody who knows the game so well, definitely this is interesting. I like what they're doing here. I like the way they're fleshing out the stuff and the characters here, right? I really love getting to see Joel with his glasses on, trying to figure out, just building, right? He's construction. That's what he was before. Here he is. That's what he contributed to Jackson. Obviously, the Catherine O'Hara scene, the therapy session is just, give me an entire show of that, right? Like, so well done. Her being a little bit drunk and very angry and feeling it out and saying it, right? Him being all the way up to that edge, having the weakness and then swallowing it, right? The one tear, I saved her, and leaving, right? Like, so fucking good. And like that being what gets him not the talk of Eugene, right? Of her being mad about that. I assume we're going to get that in a flashback, right? Of Eugene being infected. Joel had to kill him. That's what it is. That's where it goes from. Loved all that. And then, I think especially to what Bless said there, Bella Ramsey's Ellie not being the Ellie from the game, being a much more angry, visibly angry Ellie. I loved the little droplet in the front there of like, okay, cool, yeah, they do these MMA barn fights, right, where they are training. This is what their world is. She needs to be ready for that, and yet don't pull the punches, don't do these things. Just the anger inside her, and then Joel, trying to express that to Dina, and then getting more of that. Well, it's just 19-year-olds and their dad or parents, right? Mm-hmm. Even Joel acknowledging that, them having that conversation there, I think does such a nice job of fleshing out Joel and Ellie's relationship where we are, let alone the fact we haven't even jumped into them doing things out of order, right? And us getting Abby. Here is Abby. Here she is. Here's the conversation with everybody in the aftermath of the murders, right? And what will set them off on their journey, which I think immediately does what we've all talked about leading up to this, makes her more sympathetic. Makes them more sympathetic. We might still like Joel and Ellie more, but you at least understand where they're coming from now and see them in a parallel journey to them that I don't think we got in the game necessarily. Tim?
Loved it. I don't think it's any surprise. I really loved season 1 for how true it stayed to the games, but then also for the changes it made to adapt it to TV. I don't think every single thing was perfect in the game or in the show, but I think that going into this one, I wasn't concerned, but I was very interested on what choices are you going to make this work for TV. And so far, they've really succeeded in that. I think that showing us the Abby stuff so early, but also not showing everything was a really wise call. Like having the giraffes be seen, and us knowing what that meant of like time and place of like, oh shit, they're in Salt Lake City. Like this is probably right after the Ellie stuff, or like the results of the end of the first game. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I can't believe they're doing it this way. But they didn't necessarily show it was Abby's dad, the doctor. You know what I mean?
I think they're saving that, right?
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's smart because it gives us enough to go off with this group and understanding their motivations, but it's still leaving the opportunity for a kind of like very like, oh shit moment to come later in the season. But the thing I appreciate most about the show in comparison to the game is video games to me, these narrative story, Naughty Dog games, their stories are so powerful because of the little off remark comments that characters make to each other as they're just walking around the world.
Sure.
You're just climbing stuff and there's little like quips back and forth. And like that kind of like is what to me really makes the world and story of these games like sing so much.
Sure.
The plot is amazing too, but I feel like that's the real story of it. And adapting that to a show is kind of difficult. But I think that adding things like the therapist scene and allowing us to have the conversation with Joel and Tommy's wife, talking about the refugees, like they're really, I think, recontextualizing Jackson and the world that we know to set up familiar story beats, but done in different ways. Like I imagine now Abby and the crew are going to kind of come in as like refugees, showing that Joel is wrong about wanting to, or that he's kind of right about pushing back on letting people in. But it's the irony of him probably going to be taken down from the inside if they change stuff, if I'm right about all that, right?
Yeah.
But I like that because I think it just adds depth, especially with, you know, political situations going on now of like trying to take a story that can be timeless in so many ways, but make it make sense in a different medium. And so far, I think that Craig and Neil and the team have just done a perfect job of adapting what matters about the game, but also changing it enough so it's not just the exact same thing. Because I think we could all look at Last of Us 2 and be like, there's some messy parts, there's some stuff we don't love. And more than that, just like not in terms of critical reception, but in terms of like emotional things. I'm like, oh man, like I know you had to do that, but I wish you didn't do that. Like I wanted more Joel in Last of Us 2. Like, and I feel like we were robbed of him so quickly in the game, and I get the point of that. But even just the conversations we have from Pedro Pascal's Joel in this episode, I feel like does I don't want to say better, but what it does different, I really liked compared to The Last of Us 2 Joel in Jackson conversations and stuff we got in the game. And if we continue to get that level of this is a different Last of Us 2, but it's still Last of Us 2, I can't complain at all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. This is Last of Us 2, but it's a different Last of Us 2, and what other tricks and twists they have up their sleeve, and how much more time we're going to get, right? Like, we're already playing with the timeline in a very interesting way. You know, I one of the first things when we were out of the theater, me and Jen, I was talking about, I was like, well, keep in mind, too, like, you know, when Ellie comes back after the barn dance, she's supposed to talk to Joel there, right? We're supposed to get their final interaction. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, but I want to try. And so the fact that you didn't get that, right? Bella walks back to her garage apartment, which I never put together was next to Joel's house, if it was in the game as well. I thought that was interesting. But if we don't get that now, or are we going to get that later? Like, what's the next day look like? What does episode 2 look like when we wake up? Let alone the fungal network coming out of the pipe, right? Like a big change of that. Like clearly the shit's going to go, which we've seen of them running at the walls, but we're going to get an even bigger, I think, attack on Jackson than I was ready for.
What do you think that is, like, as far as how they're setting up the rest of the season? Because at some point, Ellie and Dina are going to go to Seattle, right? We're going to get that story, but is the fungal network in the pipes a way to have us come back to Jackson over time and like have that still be a B plot?
I think that
C-plot
happens.
situation?
I think that happens pretty quick.
Do you think Jackson falls because of it, or do you think it is just like part of the Abby attack on Abby's crew attack on like Jackson or on Joel?
I don't think it falls. I think it takes a big hit though, and we lose a lot of people.
I imagine it'll be a way to get Abby and the squad into Jackson, and like maybe they're even like running from the big horde of people, and like
which I think we've kind of seen, right? Yeah,
some of it, but I imagine then Jackson like allows them to come in, and then it's a very similar thing to what we saw in the first game, but instead of Joel being out on patrol, it's more just the threat coming to them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like having that whole thing of like him saying the name and her like them immediately reacting in a way, like it's just a question of like where and how is that actually going to, like, where's the event going to go down?
Yeah.
You know?
I'll be interested to see if they get him in like you're talking about ahead of time. I still think it'll happen offsite. I still think it'll happen over at the whatever that ski lodge was where the whole showdown happened. Because I feel like even what we've seen enough that it looks like that, and it looks like
I don't remember saying it, but maybe. Yeah, if we did, then.
well, like we've seen Dina and Ellie in like the basement weed thing. No, or am I making that?
Yeah,
up?
but like them being like, I feel like they've already set up them going on like recon missions, which I guess they did in the game too. But for some reason, I don't get the vibe that Joel's going to go out on a recon thing.
Okay,
but I could be wrong on that. But I just feel like the Jackson in the show seems a bit more expansive than the Jackson in the game. So there could be a ski lodge looking thing in Jackson, you know?
Yeah. I think the fact that they also have Joel on construction duty is a very interesting framing of who his character is and what he means to Jackson. Because, yeah, like that strikes me as like, okay, that's your thing. Like that's your job. Maybe you're not going to go on recon unless there is like a specific reason why you
I
go
think
on
that
recon.
the thing I think would be right that Ellie and Dina go out again, you know, get separated from their group. They you know, they do the thing where they hole up during the storm, and that when word gets back that Ellie's ex-girlfriend, right, the only other one, shows up, and she's like, yeah, they're out there. I think that kicks Joel into I saved her mode, and he goes out.
Got it.
Yeah,
Totally. And
With
I mean,
Tommy, right?
well, now
To get us
there is
back
the
to
thing
it.
of like the fun reveals of Eugene, who's the weed guy from the game, that gets a very Bill-esque in terms of game storytelling thing in the game. Now we know that is a way more important character to the show because of Catherine O'Hara's relationship to him. But I love the idea that the show's going to probably use that as a Bill episode type thing. I wonder, with the limited run time of 7 episodes, I don't expect to see a full Eugene episode, but maybe they combine it like with flashbacks when we do see the weed, like when they're smoking the ganja, you know what I mean? Maybe we get like the cuts to kind of explain that, like maybe they read something that says Eugene or whatever, and it like cuts to that. But I'm so excited because we know it's Joey Pants, baby. Bad boys. Let's go. You know what I'm talking about, Bless?
No.
Yeah.
You know Joey Pantanello?
From
Bad Boys.
He doesn't
Yo.
know any. We've covered.
I don't
You're
know,
right.
yeah.
You're right. You're right.
I don't know
you're right.
celebrities like that. Joey Pantanello.
I always jump to the Matrix.
And the Matrix too.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Eugene.
Cypher.
Oh, cool.
Cypher.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I like a lot of the framing of the episode, the central tension being around Ellie being mad at Joel, and kind of how they kind of keep that a mystery / like you as an audience member, you kind of know what's going on, right? You kind of understand like where this comes from, but so much of the town being like, what's your beef? And that culminating to the church dance scene. I love how in this one, Joel fucking just shoves a dude straight to the ground instead of just like, I think in the game it was like just a light, like, hey man, like kind of thing. Ellie blowing up on Joel in that dance scene hit so much for me, but also like, it's such an interesting place we're in for Ellie's character, where like this is a show that is gonna end up being about anger and rage and revenge in the same way that the game is about anger and rage and revenge. But so far, I think they are putting Ellie's character in a very interesting place, I guess, just in the eyes of the audience and the people around her, where so much of this episode, I love Bella Ramsey's performance as Ellie, but the decisions that Ellie's making as a character, I'm looking at and I'm like, you gotta chill. You're doing too much right now as a character.
No, I do appreciate her. Like she feels like a very off version of Ellie, and I like that. I like that it feels different from what we got in the game, because I think that allows them to kind of tap into that teenage emotion that sure the game has, but already I feel like we're getting something from this, that the relationship between this version of Joel and this version of Ellie feels grounded in like such a way that obviously the betrayal that he has, and especially this episode starting with the re-showing the very end of the first game and the end of the first season of like you promise me that like
the lie,
and he just straight up lies, and to see how much it's affecting him, like every single scene you see the guilt on Pedro's face. Like I think that it just allows a back and forth between those two characters to be, again, just so much more grounded and real. And then adding the Dina factor, the Isabella Merced's performance as Dina is like so impeccable. Good. And her back and forth and relationship with Joel is, I think, it's so additive to showing the differences between like I get like the triangle we have going between those three characters. I just think is very smart because I think it contextualizes the realities and complications of parental dynamics, relationship dynamics, like just relationships, period, any type of relationship, not just romantic. But putting that in an apocalypse where there is so much danger, where there's literal monsters outside, and this little kid, the son of Tommy and his wife is, like growing up, like playing with toys and crashing planes. Like, how does he even know what that is?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just think that like every single thing in the show feels so deliberately chosen to like back up the themes of it all. And for a story we know so well where the themes are kind of revenge and all this stuff, this episode 1, I really liked that the themes were kind of just finding your place. And they even said it in the little post-show thing, like perspective. Like, it's all about the perspective of who are the heroes, who are the villains. And before we even get into the true dynamics of heroes and villains, Joel is a villain to Elliot right now. Like, I think that like even that is just such an interesting dynamic that they did a masterful job of getting.
Like, how long was the episode? Like 50 minutes?
Yeah.
I think they spent that time well as far as building up a variety of tensions, because there is the tension between Joel and Ellie. There's the tension of, at the very beginning, they introduce Abby, and the quote was, when we kill them, or when we kill them slowly. So there's this looming threat of somebody who wants to fucking skin Joel practically. You have the looming threat of the stalkers and this new strand of infected forming that are smarter, which immediately becomes so scary as a viewer, right? And then you also have the looming threat of the stuff coming through the pipes and what's about to come and infect Jackson, right? Like, it is an episode that is about showing the perspective and showing all these, like, okay, this is where we're at now. These are the relationship between the characters. This is how they got on all this stuff. There's a lot of comfort in the episode, but then just a bunch of looming things that I think just do a great job of having me like, all right, when are things about to blow up?
Setting the stage, right? Really setting like all these different little traps that are going to go off.
The tension and the fear, because we're concerned about these characters because we care about them because they set them up well, I think is the greatest compliment to give to the show. Like, watching it with Gia, who does not know the story of the game, and so it's fun to like see like how is this going to resonate with somebody that like doesn't know what's happening. She was so riveted by all the little dynamics that by the time they have that conversation with Jesse and they're kind of like giving him some attitude and they like head out on the horses with Kat as the leader and stuff, she was just like, I'm so stressed about this dynamic, like all of these characters, like what's happening here. And she was stressed about Dina not reciprocating feelings for Ellie.
Nice.
So that by the time that they had their kiss and all that stuff, she was like, oh my God, thank God. And I'm like, damn, the show did a good job of setting it up that she's not worried about them dying and stuff. She's worried about this little girl finding love. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, they did a good job to get there already.
Oh yeah,
I agree with that.
Before we keep going on though, here's a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Imperial. We've told you all how important it is to developers to wishlist games you're interested in on Steam. So if this game sounds cool to you, make sure that you wishlist it. In Imperial, you play as a mercenary sent to a distant planet to discover the mysteries of an ancient civilization. Powers unknown lie within the monolith, but those are no mere ruins, as an expedition has already ventured inside with only a few survivors. Why was it built? What powers reside within? Who is at the center of the monolith? All these secrets and more will be uncovered if you are brave enough to take on Imperial. Imperial features a unique blend of RPG systems and skill-based combat across 3 weapon archetypes: the acrobatic glaive, the defensive but devastating mace and shield, and the powerfully ranged cannon. With a deep ability system and extensive customization, every battle is an opportunity to refine and optimize your combat style. Form relationships with each of the few surviving expedition members who all have their own personal quest lines. Whether you choose to help or not can have drastic consequences for them. The monolith is guarded by powerful automatons, each with distinct attack patterns and weaknesses that demand precise execution and strategy to be victorious. Create your mercenary, enter the monolith, learn powerful abilities, defeat the automatons, and uncover the secrets that lie within Imperial. Imperial is available May 8th on PC, Xbox S and X, and PS5, but you can wishlist now. Do it! Wishlist Imperial. This episode is brought to you by Factor. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. Greg Miller has been loving how simple it is to enjoy his Factor meals as he's rushing between shows each day. I just saw Blessy eating some too. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Multiple people here at Kinda Funny have been loving their experience with Factor. And guess what? You can too. Get started at factormeals.com/kindafunny50 off and use code kindafunny50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code kindafunny50 off at factormeals.com/kindafunny50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. This episode's brought to you by Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. If you don't love your shades, exchange them for a new pair or simply return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team are always there to have your back with personal and fast support. Y'all know I've been outside a lot playing Pokemon Go, and it's such a great experience wearing Shady Rays when I'm out and about looking dope. Exclusively for you, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal. Head to shadyrays.com and use code FUNNY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, go to shadyrays.com, use code FUNNY to get 35% off polarized sunglasses. And we are back. One of my favorite things about video game adaptations, specifically recently, is how they can just recreate moments from the games like so perfectly. And I think this episode has so many amazing examples of that. Specifically, the dancing, like oh my god, getting the same band from the games to be here. All
Gustavo's there too.
Incredible stuff. Like, and also shout out to the soundtrack. Like already, the classic bangers are there, but like they're going off for the score on this show. Very, very into it. I love the themes from whenever we have Abby's people on the screen. It's like, oh, that totally different vibe than the Ellie stuff. And I think it's super cool. But another thing I love is how video game moments and video game elements are translated through the mediums. And sometimes it can be super corny, like Doom going to like first person mode and all that stuff. But the way that they
still popped off for that, though,
of course. But the way that this show has handled that stuff has always impressed me. I really, in this episode though, love them jumping on the van to get into the building, like things like that. It was like, oh, that feels like playing Last of Us. But the entire scene of Dina and Ellie kind of like calling out to each other, like how they're going to throw the bottle and kill the clicker and all that stuff, like, you know, like fun, great stuff that felt like playing the game of having the back and forths. But then the introduction of the stalker. That felt like playing Last of Us. Like they did such a good job of, you see it in the background a little bit and you're like, what's going on? Like I totally even forgot. I was like, it looked like an animal. And I'm like, this is not an infected animal. What are we doing here? And then just like the way that it all played out, I was like, oh yeah, it's a stalker. That's great.
Yeah. I like the sounds that it was making, right? Because like obviously like I forget if we the kind of infected that got introduced in the first season, because I do a lot of conflating of the game in the show.
It's hard.
Yeah. And I forget if we had ones in the first season that were just like had just like the grunts, like the human like that kind of shit going
moaning,
on. Yeah. But the way that like the stalker was sounding felt ominous, felt like, oh shit, like this is scarier than a clicker. Like the way that it's talking and the way that it's groaning. And then the fact that Ellie's like, run at me, and then it goes the other way, chased after it, can't see it. And we've seen this a million times in TV shows, especially horror shit or like post-apocalyptic shit with zombies of, just the thing is behind you. Oh, you got to turn around, Ellie. Ellie, turn around or you're going to get got, right? But like, I don't know. It didn't feel cliche. It didn't feel like, oh man, I've been there, done that kind of thing. I think they played it very, very well here.
Well, I think the reason for that is it wasn't just like, oh, jump scare, it's behind you. It's like, oh, it's stalking her. Like it was hiding, and it was like purposefully kind of like going behind her and like trying to get the jump on her, like acting more human, and the fear that brings to Jackson when they're like, yo, they're getting smarter, and it's like they don't know what that means. They don't know, is it all of them? Like what's happening? Like the fact that they're this many years into the apocalypse and are still learning things about the monsters out there, like that's terrifying.
Totally.
You know, and we know in the game like where that potentially goes, but I thought that stuff was very well done and legitimately was scary to watch. Like, this is the type of thing I was thinking about Andy the whole time, where I'm like, how is Andy going to handle this shit? Like, this is like legitimately a terrifying scene.
Yeah. I will say my one beef with the scene.
Here we go.
I think most of my beefs with this episode, not that I have many beefs, right? But the ones that I have mainly have to do with Ellie's character. Of like, you're jumping on the back of this clicker and just stabbing it, and I'm like, man, we got to be smart in this. Like, pick up the shotgun and shoot the thing in the head. Like, you're like getting too close. And I understand it's the feeling of this goes back to her earlier in the episode, you know, yelling that I'm immune, right? Like, she is having this moment of like, I can do anything kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that is what they're trying to do here. Of she's hopping on the back of it because if she gets bit, like who gives a fuck, right? Who cares?
Yeah.
She's fine kind of thing. But even still, I'm like, there's worse things than getting bit. Like, you can get your guts fucking torn out by this thing and you're hopping on its back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing what Tess told her in season 1, right? Of like, you can still be torn apart or whatever. Like, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about infection, but you can still be killed by these things.
Yeah. And again, it comes back. I think it's me getting used to it being a different Ellie, because even her chasing after the blood, her and Dina, right, chasing after the blood, and the folks behind them being like, oh, we should be reporting this, right, and like the immediate kind of thing. They're building into the character. I'm just looking at this and I'm like, you're making me not like this Ellie as much as I should like this Ellie.
And should you like Ellie that much? That's the other thing. I don't think. I mean, I think we want to because we love her from the game and we know so much about it already. But I think obviously Bella Ramsey's great. But I think there is a part they want you going like, what the fuck, man? Because again, I think the Ellie you're seeing that is so angry right now and so jaded goes back to my point that Joel's the bad guy, that he robbed her of this opportunity. She probably feels like she shouldn't even be alive right now. What's the point of it? So she is being a lot more like, fucking full on punch me. I want to I'll do this. I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to chase this thing. Yeah, I'm going to shoot this thing. Yeah, I'm going to go this way. Again, jumping on the back of the clicker, I think was a little bit because it started to go haywire, right? Wasn't it starting to go a little bit sideways where she needed to act, I thought?
No, I think that was the plan, because like Dina, or I forget which one of them, threw the bottle to like attract the clicker, and then Ellie just like kind of straight up runs to it and just.
And
hops on
again,
the back
I think
and
it is just being a hotshot devil may care and I think this is the whole point, right? Of like, okay, I can't be hurt, or I can't be infected, so
yeah.
I'm playing fast and loose with
and
it.
her getting bit, God, and having to like cut it later was just brutal. So hard to watch that stuff. But I mean, it is interesting how they're going to play with the spore stuff, because in the game, it was spore stuff at this point, right? Or did she get bit?
What do you mean?
And this bit of in Last of Us 2, like, what happened to her?
I don't remember her getting bit. The spore stuff is later on in the tunnel when she's
Yeah.
confronting the woman in the red light. She's like, "You're not." She's like starting to die. The other woman's like sucking in the spores and dying. She's like, "You're fine." Like, yeah.
And I think there was another moment that you might be thinking of too, where I think her and Dina are going into a spore thing, and Dina tried to like give Ellie her face mask or whatever, and Ellie's like, I think takes hers off and be like, I'm fine, like I can breathe this shit.
Yeah.
But that's in Seattle, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm so interested in how they're going to reintroduce the spore stuff into this, because it was in the trailer and they've been talking about getting it in here, because obviously the whole network of the fungal network stuff is new to the show, and like them continuing it in the pipes, which was great, because even in the beginning of the episode when we see, I think it was Dina like break the pipe open and like looking through it all, I was like, where's this going? And it's like, oh damn, like where do you guys think it's going? Like, is there going to be?
I think that's what's going to set out. I think we're going to get this 2 levels of action where you'll have the action of what's happening with Joel, Abby, Ellie all over there. And I think then you have someone that finally creeps through and someone steps on it. Someone hacks the pipe and hits it. And that sets off the vibration waves all the way back. That
calls
brings
them
in the
all.
horde.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Because we did get that shot of Tommy with the big ass flamethrower, right? So that would make sense then of Tommy being at home. Oh man. Oh no. Well, Tommy's there though.
Was that in like the post show like season trailer, or was that in the show?
No. This was the show, the like coming up this season on HBO trailer from a month ago or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I love Tommy. Like the
really,
actor, I forget the actor, but man, so good.
Him lying to Joel when Joel's like, "Are you just shooting by yourself?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like I like a lot of the dynamics that they're painting between Tommy and Ellie, even getting Joel and Tommy and Maria's son, right? Of like just hanging out, like them. They're painting a lot of these familial / like friendly dynamics that we know are gonna get fucked up here pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I like getting to see these sides of the characters.
Again, it fleshes them out. I think the show's doing a great job of doing that, of giving you multiple sides of the same character, so it feels different.
Speaking of Tommy and Maria, what's up with the government like building where they had Ellie and Dina addressing them to talk about the stalker. For some reason, that shit made me crack up. I was
You don't like the town council?
no, just meet in the fucking room.
This is where
That shit was hilarious
This is
to
where
me.
Jackson business happens. All right, they're trying to keep some semblance.
Because like for me, that's like, all right, did you build this room or did this
No,
room
that was
already
old.
happen to exist and y'all looked at it and you're like, we're conducting.
I
I think
it
they're
is.
running like the city hall out of
Yeah.
the city hall. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fucking hilarious to me.
Why they're gonna do community things at the church?
I
like-
don't know. It's like you're not even facing each other really. Like this is in a weird semicircle. Just get a table. Everything's fucked up now.
Get a
They're in a
table.
post-apocalypse.
They're trying to have
Get-
it not be fucked up. They're trying to have some level
man.
of hey man.
Give it up. Everybody's dead.
Give it up. Speaking of the characters, we get introduced to Abby's squad, and obviously we don't get much of them in this, but we know where they're gonna go. Any initial thoughts on the casting here?
No, the main guy who she's talking to, I assume, is her ex-boyfriend. I can't remember the
Owen.
names anymore. Owen, thank you so much. I thought he looked a lot like
He
the Owen
does.
from before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the woman from Intergalactic's there.
Yeah.
I like that. And I was like, hell yeah, okay, seen that.
And also
Tati
from
Gabrielle.
this game,
yeah.
playing the same character, which is always fun.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. You're right. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Are we sure about that? There was
Right?
a lot of confusion about this last time we mentioned this on a show. Where
Really?
somebody said that, and it was no bless. I don't want to try to throw you under the bus.
Yeah.
It was no, the intergalactic person is in this show as
Oh.
that character, but they weren't in the game as that character.
You're right.
Okay.
No, they're playing a different character. Or no,
Cool.
they're playing a character, but she wasn't this character in the game.
Was she in Last of Us 2?
Let me see.
Interesting. Thank you for the clarification there.
Nope, it's
Uh,
okay. It's one of those slippery slopes of how we've said it, and then move on, and you come back to it, and yada yada yada.
But then we have Danny Ramirez as Manny, I assume.
This is, of course,
the
the Falcon,
Falcon.
the new Falcon.
Yeah.
I like him.
And
Was
then
Tati
Maverick.
Gabrielle in Uncharted? Wasn't she in?
The Uncharted movie? Is that
You're-
right?
That's what it is.
That's what it was?
Yeah, she's in the Uncharted movie.
It's that thing. I've had this conversation through You're Wrong before
Yeah.
on
Yes.
Games Daily, I think. So
That's
yeah, I like
fine.
that. I mean, I miss Ashley Birch. I wish Ashley Birch would have been in this.
Yeah. I wasn't really
Oh,
sold
yeah.
on what's that character's name?
Was that Nora or was that somebody else?
No, that
No.
one's
No.
Nora.
The pregnant woman in this
Yeah,
one?
the pregnant
I
one.
can't remember her name.
It's fucked
Yeah.
up.
Tulu 2 pregnant.
But I'm so excited
Multiple
to have
answers.
the dynamics play out of that group and the pregnancies, and then also
Mel.
Mel.
Yeah.
How could I forget? The all the pregnancies in Last of Us 2, I think, are going to be very interesting of how they play out and the character dynamics between that in the show. 'Cause
I've been thinking we should do a bracket
A pregnancy
of
bracket?
babies.
Yeah.
I love the idea.
And then getting Caitlin Deaver, like that's another thing that I've been pretty hesitant about going into the show because I do feel that Abby's character being jacked is like such an important plot point to the game. Obviously, the show's very different, so I'm giving them.
He has 5 years. We've not seen her in the present, right?
Well,
we see her
did
in a
at
big
the
coat.
end, right? But yeah, you're right. But also, we saw her in trailers and stuff, so
I didn't watch the trailer.
Yeah.
She's buffing my brain.
we watched it on Games Daily and stuff.
I closed my eyes.
It's fucking like
Um,
She-Hulk
so-
CGI.
So I am very hesitant about that because I feel like that's something they're gonna have to win me over on like making the character matter in a way that I care
Yeah.
about as much. Having said that, they're already recontextualizing the story there, and I think that having what they did of her here and how angry she is, like she's clearly respected, right? Like I feel like she has this group of people and she is their leader, it seems already, and like she's just this little girl, but like I think that having that kind of like cult personality already with her being small, I think could just lead to interesting stories that are different. But that's something I'm still jury's out. What do you got, Greg?
I know. I don't want. I'm trying to get back on track.
Yeah.
It's just from the chat. It's just T-Lou PPP, T-Lou PPP, The Last of Us preferred pregnancy partner.
Oh, had even more views there. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the introduction, like her performance in the introduction of the episode, right? Like as Caitlin Deaver is speaking, I am like, oh damn, I'm kind of scared of her.
Yeah.
Like
that intensity.
yeah, like there's an intensity that she has. She's fresh off the incident, right? And so like you can kind of see where that comes from. I'm curious to see how that develops in a 5-year break, because like not that you lose the want and desire to kill the person that killed your people 5 years later. But like, are we gonna be met 5 years later with that same amount of intensity, or is it gonna be almost like a resolved, like, all right, finally I get to do this thing? You know, it's like Thanos at the end of Infinity War kind of thing of like, all right, cool, it's a matter of fact kind of thing that I know I need to kill Joel kind of thing. I'm curious on that but even to like her being a different Abby, it strikes me in the same way of Bella Ramsey being a different Ellie.
Absolutely.
Where partway through this episode, I started thinking about Jet Force Gemini, as I do. Because there's a cheat code in that game called Jet Force Kids, where you take all the main characters of Jet Force Gemini and they just become children. And I kept thinking about that in my brain as I'm watching this, of like, I like the performances, I like the writing for the most part, even though there's some things Ellie's doing that's annoying me. But I feel like I'm watching the game, except all the characters, or the main characters that I love, just happen to present younger.
Yeah.
And it's just a getting used to kind of thing. And we'll see how that goes over the season. Because even as we're talking about like the pregnancy bracket kind of thing, right? I'm like, yeah, Dina even seems like presents younger here too. Even though it will make sense when we get there, but my brain's just not there.
See,
yet.
I think for Ellie, I had that with season 1. That was one of my things with season 1, where just like the way she presented in the show, I was like, oh, you're so different but similar, but not. You know what I mean? Like, but by the end of it, I felt stood on its own, stood on her. Dina is a similar thing, except that I think just giving us the scene of Dina and Joel and her wanting to learn about what's going on with the fuse box, but then giving shit and then getting a little bit of like dad angst when she knows Ellie. Like, I was like, oh, this does so much more for me than what we got in the game of Dina, where Dina was babysitting the kids in the snowball fight, goes out, then they start, hook up, but then there was this, and it was like, I got all that and I was fine with it, but this version of Dina being a little bit younger, I would say I think what's interesting for all of these characters that we're talking about is there's a level of carefreeness to them in an environment that's the apocalypse. And why? Because they've been raised here. Back to the scene of them getting ready to throw the bottle and do the thing, and like, and they like start joking around. That felt so natural. Where I think sometimes when we're playing the game and like there is that level of levity in it, it is a little bit more like, listen, I failed 3 times on this. I don't need that right now. Whereas here, this is just their daily activities. They do like going out. Ellie for a different reason than Dina, but they do like, hunting and doing this. They get so this is fun for them.
Yeah, totally. And something that I am interested to see how far they take it is like maybe the show is flipping some of the characteristics of Abby and Ellie, like already having Ellie doing the MMA stuff and being way more physical and fighty, as opposed to, I feel like the game presents it gameplay wise as she's a bit more stealthy and Abby's a bit more like because she's bigger, a little bit more aggressive and Joel like gameplay wise. But I think it could be interesting to flip it, where I really appreciated the story beats of Abby being muscular because she spent years training for this moment, being prepared for it. But what if they flip it here and instead they play with the story of like with Ellie kind of pushing Joel away and like not accepting it and like kind of being a little bit more insular and like not a team player.
Yeah.
And leaning more into Abby having a team, and have like maybe they flip it where Ellie is a bit the more aggressive one and she's alone versus Abby having like a group
like
around her and a little bit more like maybe not tactical, but like
I mean, that would fit the Wolves, right? Like what was the Washington Liberation Force, right? Like I think if she has people that are around her that are more tactically trained because this is their style of survival versus Ellie coming up with Joel during that year of Last of Us 1 and being a bit more brooding.
I do think there's an interesting thing that's a great take, and I'd like to see how they do that, right? I do think that with this one MMA scene they set up here, we're establishing, oh shit, like this Ellie can throw hands, she can actually do it, blah, blah. So if you bring in Abby, right, and she clowns out Ellie, we suddenly go, oh my God, like we've already seen Ellie go off and be able to take down this big guy, right? But if Abby can do that, she's even more trained by the wolves, right? Like, so there's an interesting mixer where it could be a more stealthy thing, or it might just be that she shows up and like, no, sorry, I'll break your arm the wrong way, do this thing. And then since we've already bought that Ellie's that good of a fighter, we buy that Abby's, amazing, been trained army-wise.
I mean, yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, we know we're going to get more Seattle backstory at the very least, or just more with Jeffrey Wright's character. So I wonder what that's going to look like. Like I'm so excited to see the the stadium, because I always thought that was like one of the coolest things in Last of Us 2, like getting to like their home base.
Yeah.
Football stadium, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
sick though. Like walking around that stuff was like, yeah.
Washington Liberation Front.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Force.
Oh.
We have a couple super chats here. CJ Splitson says, does it feel like the show's spelling things out a little too much at times? It's a lot of narrative hand-holding.
Interesting. Hard to say, I think, since we all feel like we know where it's going because we know the game. I don't know. I wouldn't say that because it was like, I think if it was Jen or somebody else I was talking to who didn't understand. No, it was a comment maybe I read. I don't know. Yeah, I think on our own on the Kind of Funny subreddit, somebody was talking about like, oh, Eugene, but if Joel killed him, why would he still? Well, he's probably infected. Like I thought that would be so clear that like, oh, he killed him because he was infected, but people didn't get that.
I didn't get
So
that.
it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think to the spelling out things, I think there's certain things where because this is the premiere of a season, you kind of have to reintroduce people to certain concepts because like there's some things you forget. I forgot about the fungal network from season 1.
Never
right?
forget.
Yeah, and then like once we see it coming out the thing, for a second I was like, oh, what the fuck is that? What's about to happen? But then like as I'm talking to you, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like the thing that they introduced as a big part of how this world, this version of the world works. Right? Or even like them kind of talking through taking out one clicker and then a stalker is like a fun. Hey, here's the way these things work again, but also here's a cool like set piece sequence to kind of keep you still engaged while also re-showing you this is what we're dealing with, these are what the stakes are, this is what this world is. Like I think it's worth doing in episode 1.
Yeah,
100%.
and like I was saying, G was watching it too, and her being so foreign to this, like I think that it really worked, and like she's on a good path to it. Where like afterwards I asked her, I was just like, just as a TV show, what do you think of that? And like she was completely into it. She's like, I can't wait to find out what's happening with this stuff. So I think that the reintroduction to stuff mattered because I did think that some of the exposition stuff was a little clunky, but necessary because I think even for obviously like the normies like G, but then also for they know that people like us are watching this show. So I think a little bit of hand holding to guide us into what direction they're going to play with what world we're in, I think is necessary. But the bit of her screaming, I'm immune, like I think that while a character trait, and that will definitely be seen in like who Ellie is and feeling like she's a little invulnerable at this point. I also think that was just a real reminder to the people of like how serious this is and like what happened in season 1 and like why the lie from Joel is so important. Because like even watch the recap, great recap, but I do feel like it doesn't necessarily
so much you can get in there.
drive home like the importance of the choices made there.
Sure. Yeah, I can't wait to see where this goes. I'm
yeah.
really excited for next episode,
Same.
especially because it's just, I'm not doing like a weird thing. It's for me. It's been so long. You know what I mean? It's like I got excited Last of Us yesterday. I was like, oh right, it's the episode. I've seen this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I clicked. I'm like, is it a dual episode? No, it's just the one. Fuck.
Yeah,
that was 6 more weeks, man.
Oh, 6 more weeks of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was
Groundhog
the
Day.
thing for me of like, man, this episode made me remember that I haven't played Last of Us 2 since we reviewed it in 2020, and I probably played it over the course of 3 weeks, right? And I haven't touched it since then.
Yeah.
Of like the amount of things that kind of leave your brain in that time or then re-enter your brain when you experience something again. So watching it and getting to the barn scene and being like, oh, I forgot about this scene. I know what's about to happen. Also, that scene was until the end of the game, right? Or did that happen at this point in the video game?
No, we didn't see the fight yet. At this part in the video game, we saw them kiss.
Okay.
We didn't have the fight. We didn't see the guy.
So they cut the scene into like, it happens at the beginning and then at the end again with more.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because that was the thing.
The same thing we get way, way, way later when Ellie comes home and Joel's on the front porch.
Yeah.
Working on the guitar and he has a cup of coffee and there's a whole conversation about how much I
The
traded.
final speech or
Yeah.
whatever.
Gotcha. But yeah, it's so fun re-experiencing it this way.
Howdy Doody says, I love the games, but the teen drama is tough. I love it, man.
Open up your heart.
I fucking
It's kind of where
Open
I'm
up
at
your
too.
heart.
live. You think so?
A little bit so far, but I just need to see how it develops over time. I'm open to liking this version, but yeah, I mean, so far the teen drama is a bit. I think my thing is also them being 19. I sometimes I'm like, this feels a bit 15-year-old behavior. Like this feels like Last of Us 1 Ellie a bit. Like I don't know. There's parts of it that feels a bit. I think Greg said carefree. I think I would even say like plucky in terms of like what their personality is here. But I'm not gonna dismiss it yet.
Yeah.
Real quick too. Sorry, I misunderstood the question in chat's keeping me honest. Of like, we get the barn scene as a flashback. Even remember, we start the morning after the thing, and there's a lot of conversations about what happened last night. Blah 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 blah. And then you go on to them, whatever. And then you flash back to the barn where you get them kissing, and then you flash back again, right?
Again,
To get the
gotcha.
fight, or am I wrong about that?
I don't think we see Joel
Intervene.
like, intervene until the end of the game, or later in the game at least.
That doesn't sound right. But again,
I might be wrong
it's
about
been
that.
5 years, and we'll see how this show plays it out. Matt Yellow says, is Isabella just typecast as morning sickness as a person? Hawk Girl's going to be pregnant in Superman as well.
Spoilers!
Also, Greg, I survived Hodgkins too.
Congratulations on the Hodgkins.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for spoiling something about Superman. I didn't know.
Is Isabella sick in other things? I don't know. Or pregnant in other things?
I don't know.
I don't think she was pregnant in Madam Web. But I don't know.
Who
you tell
knows?
me.
The
Yeah.
web saw all. We all
It
saw
did see
so
all.
many futures.
It did see all. What else do I have here?
Alien. They're saying Alien. She was pregnant. Alien.
No future spoilers for your boy, but whatever, it's fine. Any final thoughts?
Can't wait for more.
Yeah. Did you watch the Next Time On?
No,
This
I
season
didn't.
on trailer thing? Yeah. It was cool, but it's so funny to watch an adaptation of Last of Us 2 that we know is not going to be the whole game, and the game already has a lot of flashbacks and like out of order shit. So you're seeing all these scenes, and I'm just like, I have no idea how they're going to play this all out. So I'm very, very excited for all of that. Like I was saying, we will be here every single Monday talking about The Last of Us Season 2 on HBO. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of the season premiere. And stay tuned. If you're on Twitch, stay right where you are. If you're on YouTube, make the jump over to the Marvel Rivals stream the boys are about to do. Until next time, love you all. Goodbye.